Hello, welcome to Flower Juice. My name's John McDonald and today we're going to make a simple gents buttonhole. Now my inspiration for this was really the fact that I've got this beautiful little calla lily and these are perfect as a very classic sort of gents buttonhole because they've got such a nice stylish shape. I'm just going to add a few little bits and bobs and we're going to put it together. So essentially a gents buttonhole is a single flower, and nowadays really anything goes. You can make them as complicated as you want or you can make them as simple as you want. I think with the calla you really can make it essentially just a plain flower, or you can add some little bits to it. So let's have a little look. So the first thing I'm going to do with our calla is I've kind of cut it to the size that I would like. I'm just going to use a wire to internally give it support. So you can obviously wire it externally, but then you're going to need to hide that wire or to tape it. Now as I'm adding this wire up, I'm just giving a little twist with my fingers so that it guides it in more of a straight line, and you can just feel it as it goes up there. So that has now got more support and is going to be much stronger on the day. Now if you do come out the side, don't worry too much. Ideally you don't, but this allows us just to make sure that the flower sits in the way that we want, because we really want it to sit here and just be quite plain. Now the other thing I've got is I've got a few little ivy leaves. Now wire wise, I'll put a little guide in the description for the wires. I have these little rose wires, but rose wires, they can be very thin or they can be a bit thicker, and these are a bit thicker, and if I use one of them, it really to me is just too heavy and too strong. So I'm just going to use this little reel wire that I've got. I always find when you go to buy new wires that you don't necessarily get what you want in a wholesaler because they might not have what you're actually after. But a good tip to remember is if you've got a very thin wire and you're needing a bit more strength, then give it like a double leg. So what do I mean by that? When we go through the back and make a little stitch and go around a couple of times, we're leaving two pieces of wire to basically be the leg of the stem, the artificial stem. If you do that, you're giving yourself more strength. If you just do a single leg, then it's obviously thinner, but the benefit of that is it has less weight and less bulk. So we're just going to tape these. Now, if you're wanting to see a little bit more detail on how to wire foliage or how to wire flowers, we have a couple of videos. If you go into the channel and go to the playlists, there's a section called weddings, and basically we've got a lot of videos there that deal with things like wiring shower bouquets, bridal bouquets, and there's a specific video for foliage and for flowers in there that show you how to wire them. So don't worry that I'm not showing you right now. So we've got a few little ivy leaves. I also want to do a few or a couple of these little lamb's ears, and they're so cute. Now I've got these in the garden and these are fresh, but for wedding work I would definitely use the ones that have been glycerined or preserved or dried. You don't want to use material, these are very soft, but you don't want to use material for an actual event that is not going to survive the day. So use the dried version, or the glycerin version would be a better idea. But for the demonstration, for the purpose of this video, I'm using fresh ones. I don't think they would necessarily last the day. I think I have picked these before and just dried them myself, and they basically look exactly the same. So they're going to be a little bit stronger. So it's not impossible to do. I have a couple of little bits of lavender, and we're just going to tidy that up and make that into like a little unit. Yeah. And now this one I am going to use the thicker wire, and I'm just going to do like a single leg. So really really these little bits of material are just to complement our main flower without going crazy and taking away from that flower. Now this is a little bit of snake grass. I just want to add something that has a little bit of interest, and I'm just going to wire it from the bottom and wire it from the top, and then we can just do a little bit of basically a scrunch. So I want to create a little knot or a little detail. You could make little squares or little triangles, but I think the knot's kind of cute. And even there we can just actually take off that bit and that bit. So when you're making a corsage, what you're really wanting to do is create something that is light and has, it should be elegant. It shouldn't be bulky and heavy and clumsy. It should be quite elegant. So what we have is we have our flower, we have our little pieces, and now we can start to put this together. So I'm really going to use our lavender at the back and bring in one of the lamb's ears. Just using the corsage tape just to bring that together. Now when I first started out with flowers, we used to twist everything as we made it. And now the twist has really gone. You're better just to take your materials and lie each stem or wire side by side. So you get, this is going to be much more elegant and less clumsy. So why do we wire things and why do we do these things? Basically what we're doing is we're creating artificial stems, but also the tape is sealing the stem and binding it. So rather than just put a flower on your lapel, and what you'll find is if you just stick a flower in with a pin onto your lapel, what's going to happen is that you're going to find that the stem will probably break. So this is giving you strength for it to last the day, and also support and the ability to move things around as well. So I've just put my calla lily there. I'm going to bind it but not all the way down, because I think it might be quite interesting just to lose this bit at the end. I'm going to bring in our little detail. Now you can obviously add ribbon or you can add diamantes or whatever. Whatever your detail that you want to have, you can add. I quite like just a natural look. So we'll, and I do like ivy leaves, I have to say. I'm going to take a little bit of tape over that bit. Now you can use these binding wires as well just to go around and create a little bit of strength in the way that everything is held together. But that is essentially our corsage, our buttonhole, and all we need to do now is just finish it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of wool, and taking the wool and leaving a tail up the top, I will go round it at the bottom. So I'm catching that tail and coming up the stem. So I think the calla lily, in a way, it's quite a plain flower. It's quite a classic shape, but it has a beautiful stem. So something that you can really play on is making a high decor finish on the stem. And what I'm doing here, I'm just using this wool, but the wool is also going to allow us to bring in colour. So this is a good way of picking up on maybe the colour that is elsewhere in the wedding. And that is it. So all we need to finish that off is just a little pin, and we have our completed corsage. So quite easy to do. The good thing as well with having this left like this is we could actually put this into water. Obviously all these other materials are now cut and they're out of water. They have been sealed by the fact that I've taped them. But what you want to do is you want to have materials that have been really well hydrated or conditioned in advance. You want materials that are in good condition, and you want to, once you've made it, put it somewhere cool, give it a fine spray or a fine mist. I wouldn't necessarily put big drops of water on, so be careful when you're spraying things that, especially roses, they don't necessarily like water sitting on them. So a fine mist and just somewhere really cool works a treat. And that is it. So that is our little video for today. Now, we've got new videos every week. We'd love you to join us for our next design. If you are feeling inspired by watching this video and you want a little bit more inspiration, then have a look in the description box, and we've got a link to one of our previous videos, which is for a Flower Girl pomander. Now, it's a fun little design, and the video shows you exactly how to go about making such a thing. So that's a little bit of more inspiration if you want it. Now, we really appreciate that you've joined us today. If you enjoy our channel and would like to support us more, then I've put our PayPal details into the description as well. We really appreciate everyone who watches and subscribes, and if you can like the video and share the video, that's even better. So thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you for our next design.